Because so now at this point, as you started understanding that you want to impart this knowledge, you partake on this journey with James Peck and
Yes.
start ironing out this amazing school called Brainstorm, right?
Yes. Thank
So
you. Thank you.
how was that initial? Because the reason why Brainstorm makes me so interested is because this started building up at a time where we already had schools like Art Center, and obviously
Yeah.
they're a very expensive affair in general.
Yeah.
Even like a week ago, I had the opportunity to sit with Zach Berger and talk to him about this as well, because even he is an Art Center student. So we also got into the discussion as to how expensive these schools get. And in that situation, schools like Brainstorm, they are amazing because they are at this point, because right now a school like Brainstorm or even online courses like Learn Square, even Satish's school,
Yeah.
they're basically providing,
It's amazing.
they're basically building out something that allows almost affordable to free access to knowledge, which
Yeah.
was very much hidden away at one point.
Yeah.
And the best part is that folks like you who are working within the industry are the teachers, rather than having someone who have worked in the industry for a long time but they do not work in the industry anymore. So any kind of information you provide is going to be slightly outdated to some
Yeah.
level. Maybe Art Center
Yeah.
is not that. Maybe Art Center is very evolved when it comes to that. But what, in terms of the ethos or the goal of Brainstorm, how was that initial beginning for Brainstorm for you guys?
Yeah. So yes, a school like Art Center is it's very expensive. And I think that's an
Right.
understatement. It will and any private college
Mhm.
is expensive, right? And I have my own opinions about private institutions like Art Center and stuff like that. I owe a huge debt to Art Center,
Mhm.
because I got to meet my mentors
Right.
and a lot of friends and stuff it was an incredible experience. But I felt I felt lucky because I was within proximity of the school.
Mhm.
I felt lucky because I had the right people around me to help me build a portfolio to get a scholarship.
Right.
But it was very it was really hard to see, some of my classmates who didn't have that opportunity, and just seeing the cost of the school really weigh them down. Like it's almost this heavy thing on your shoulders where reality kicks in and you get out of school and you have this crazy amount of debt.
Right.
And
And I also feel while you're in school, because I think scholarships are also a thing that drives them to work as students in a certain way. But I think the money pressure always makes them pick classes which they would ideally not go for, just so
yeah,
that they can, score enough credits to be on a scholarship list, essentially.
yeah, yeah,
Technically driving
exactly.
them slightly away from the journey that they want to take.
Yeah, it does affect a lot. It has a emotional and psychological impact, just and again, I think all these schools have a lot to offer.
Mhm.
But what started what started Brainstorm, and it was with and James Pake he's my mentor.
Right.
He really opened my eyes in the world of doing freelance and concept art as a business. Like, okay, how do I work for these companies, and how do I negotiate and understand to set terms and rates and all that stuff. Was such a
Mhm.
new language to me, and I learned all of that from James. And
Right.
James Pake
Right.
was that person who unlocked that side. When we started Brainstorm, and James has years of teaching, probably 15, 20 years of teaching now, I want to say. And he was a
Wow.
longtime instructor at Concept Design Academy, and we
Right.
both taught there. And that school is ran by Kevin Chen, who's an incredible instructor. He's
Right.
That school, honestly, we have a lot of we owe a lot to Concept Design Academy because
Mhm.
they helped inspire starting Brainstorm. But
Right.
we just wanted to try something for ourselves and just see, like, hey, could we do this? You know,
Right.
is this something that we could just do on our own and just kind of venture out? And it was never with the intention of, let's make this massive school. That was not it. It was just more like, hey, if we could teach a class and we could teach anything,
Mhm.
and and there's no curriculum, there's no pre-made class structure, and we just want to figure out what is our version of teaching this particular subject matter.
Right.
How would we do it? And could we do it? Right. And so that's when, back in 2014, we started Brainstorm. So it's been almost
Wow.
9 years since we started the
Wow.
school.
Wow.
And it was just one class and 10 students. And we
Right.
used James's studio. It was like on the bottom floor. There was like
Mhm.
this open area, and it was exciting. We went to like IKEA, we got furniture,
Oh,
got the
wow. Okay.
chairs, and we got the projector, and then we used one of James's old computers that he wasn't using. And I was like, oh my God, we're finally doing our own little thing.
Right.
And it was exciting because it was never about the monetary aspect. It was never about like, oh man, we're gonna do our own business, but it was more like, we get to teach anything that we want,
Mhm.
the way we want, and how we want. And any class that we want to come up with, we can do it because this is a blank canvas. I
Right.
felt like when you teach at other schools, there's already kind of a curriculum, there's already a tone,
Mhm.
that you need to at least be aligned with, or kind of
Right.
fit into, which works. It
Of
works for
course.
that school. But for us, we wanted to be more experimental and just kind of figure out, well, what do we want to do, right? And we
Mhm.
wanted to experiment with, you know, updating the education with things that we're learning on the job, and then implement that into the classroom to provide, the most current, information, but also trying things out that don't quite work the way we were taught. you
Right.
know I was taught perspective, or I was taught certain things that were a little bit old school, which worked back then,
Mhm.
but because of new tools, new things, like, things have rapidly changed,
Mhm.
and what studios look for have rapidly changed as well. And so that made us want to update, and change, the classroom experience, the
Right.
content experience. And so that was the real main start of Brainstorm. And
Right.
when I was experiencing Art Center as a student, and I actually got to teach one of the classes there called Originality for Design.
Mhm.
um, I I felt like things were so set, and they were set in their ways, and they're a big, big college.
Of
And
course.
I know it's very bureaucratic. It must be very hard to make decisions and or make changes and stuff on the
Mhm.
fly. But I just felt like that the people that would get affected are the students, because if you can't pivot or make a swift change, you know the students are the ones that are going to get most affected out of this, because they're the ones going there, they're paying for the tuition, they're getting the education. But if they can't make a swift change because of structural reasons or curriculum reasons or instructor reasons, whatever it may be,
Mhm.
the students they're not getting the most up to date kind of knowledge
Right.
and education. And so that's what really, like, added a lot of reasoning for why we wanted to do our own thing. It
Right.
was just, we wanted to just share, like, hey, we found certain answers that work really well.
Mhm.
And and now we're at a place where there's so much awesome schools. There's so many awesome instructors out there.
Right.
If I started my education now, I feel like, first off, it's very daunting because there's so many schools out there.
Right.
But it's awesome because I think, as a artist, you should not be beholden, or as a student, you should not be beholden to go to one school. I don't
Right.
believe in that. I think you should go to the schools that have your favorite artists, your favorite
Mhm.
teachers. The entire internet is it's your canvas of classes. You get to kind of pick and choose. Like, for me, I want to learn from Satish, from Jama. I want to learn from James.
Mhm.
I want to learn from June on the painterly stuff, and like
Right.
like you didn't have that ability if you were going to a traditional college, because
Right.
you have to utilize instructors there. But the college is really the internet now. You can kind of use everything. So there's pros and cons obviously to that, because there's so much information, it's hard to know, like, well, how do you navigate the space?
Right.
But the flip side, it's beautiful because the accessibility is right at the click of a button.